Hi guys, welcome to the CATWay. So in this video, we are going to solve a set of the day. So let us move ahead and check out the question. And do not forget to like, share and subscribe. So 6 players A through F played in a badminton singles tournament in which each player played exactly once against each of the other 5 players. In each match, the first person to score 21 points with a lead of at least 2 points, that is with the opponent scoring less than 20 points, wins the match. If a player scores 21 points without the lead of at least 2 points, the match continues until either of the two players obtains a lead of 2 points. Okay, so classic badminton game set that we have. The matches were played across 5 days, day 1 to day 5, with each player playing exactly one match on each day. The following table provides the points scored by each of the 5 players on each of the 5 days that he played. Okay. So as you can see, guys, on day 1, you can see that B has scored 24 points. Okay. So that means his opponent must have scored 22 points or either 26 points, right? Because he has scored more than 21 points. Take care. And more than 21 points is only scored when both of them were above 20 points, right? Now, if B has won the match, his opponent, he would have had a lead of 2 points. And if he had lost a match, he would have the other one would have a lead of 2 points. Okay. So from that, what we can guarantee says that because there is no one with 26 points, that means B and D played against each other on day 1. Also, let us make a table first. Okay. So let us make a table first. So we have day 1, day 2, 3, 4, and 5. These are the days that we have. Okay. Talking about the matches, each day we will have how many matches? We will have 3 matches. 3 matches for each day. Okay. Chalo. So first match is confirmed between B and D. First match is confirmed between B and D. Okay. After that, B and D are gone. Okay, I'll keep on cutting over here. B and D are gone. Okay. Now, if you see from others between C and E cannot play against each other. That means C and E will play either against one will play against F and one will play against A. Okay, but we cannot definitely say who is going to play against whom, but definitely C and E are not going to play against each other. C and E are not going to play against each other. Similarly, coming to day 2, you have 21, 21, and 21 points for A, B, and C. Okay, that means definitely they are not going to play against each other because others have 17, 16, and 16 points. So definitely that means A, B, and C are not going to play against each other in this on day 2. Okay, on day 2, they are not going to play against each other. Chalo. Let's move ahead. Okay. Also here B and D won't be playing against each other. That means B will be playing either against E or B will be playing against either F. Coming to day number 3. Coming to day number 3, we have 3 people with 21 points and 1 person with 23 points. Okay. That means D, who has 23 points, is either going to play against C or he is going to play against F. And why is he not going to play against B? Because he has already played against B. Okay, he has already played against B. So something that we can definitely sure shot say is that what we can definitely say is कि B, talking about B, talking about okay, D must have played with either E or F. Okay, D must have played with either E or F. Okay, okay. But what we can definitely say is that B, C, and F were involved in 3 different games. B, C, and F were involved in 3 different games. How? That D was involved either with C or F. Okay, D was involved either with C or F. Similarly, E was involved with maybe B, maybe C, maybe F. Okay, and similarly, A was involved with either B or C or F. Okay, we have to determine where D goes and where the other 3 goes. But this is something that is very clear that B, C, and F are not playing against each other. They are definitely not playing against each other. That is certain. Okay. Now coming to day 4. Day 4, what you can see is that C, D, and F have 21 points and others have lesser points than 20. That means C, D, and F are definitely not going to play against each other. C, D, and F are definitely not going to play against each other. Okay. So C is gone, D is gone, and F is gone. Coming to day 5. Coming to day 5, what do we have is that 21, 15, 23, 22, 21, and 24. So person who scored 24 points, definitely we saw it in day 1 that his or her F's opponent, that is F has scored 24 points, his opponent should have scored either 22 points or his opponent should have scored 26 points. From here, we can definitely say that D and F are going to play against each other. From F here, we can definitely say that D and F are going to play against each other. Okay. So D and F are gone. Apart from that, talking about C. Okay, talking about C, what we can say that C played either against A or C played against E. So C is either going to play against A or C is going to play against E. Okay, and C is going to win. But what we can definitely say is that A and E did not play against each other. A and E did not play against each other. Okay, this is something that we can say definite. Okay, so for all the days, whatever information we could directly include from the scores that have been given, we have taken that out. Okay, we have already taken that out. Let us move ahead. Okay. Acha, talking about day 3, you know that D would not have played against B. Okay, D would not have played against B, nor D would have played against F. So that means D is definitely going to play against whom? D is definitely going to play against C, because he has already played against B over here and F over here. So that means the person, because D had to be playing with either B, C or F, someone, he cannot play with B and F. That means definitely D is playing with C. Okay, that means definitely B is playing with C on day 2. Okay. Now, D has played with B, C, and F. That means D is left to play with which people? D is left to play with A and D is left to play with E. Okay, D is left to play with A and D is left to play with E. Okay, also let's cut D over here. If you see day 4, if you see day 5, on day 5, okay, on day 5, it is certain that D is not playing against E. It is certain that D is not playing against E. Okay. Acha, okay, just a second. What we can say is D has to play against A and E, right? In day 2, what we can see is on day 2, we can say that because A, B, C are the teams that are definitely playing, and they are competing with either D, they are competing with either E or competing with either F. On day 2, D and E. On day 2, D and E cannot play against each other. D can only either play with A or D can play with C. Okay, or B. Okay, he cannot play with E on day 2. That means D is definitely going to play with A on day 2. Okay, and similarly, D is definitely going to play with E on day 4. D is definitely going to play with E on day 4. Okay, now this much is done, right? This much is done. Okay, chalo. Now let us talk about the games that A is playing. Okay. So for A, we know that A has already played with D. Okay, A has already played with D on day 2. Okay, who is he left to play with? He is left to play with B, C, E, and F. Okay, he is left to play with B, C, E, and F. Okay, chalo. Let's see what can be done. Okay. Acha, talking about A playing with B. Talking about A playing with B, it is possible only on day 3 and day 5. Okay, A playing with B is possible only on day 3 and day 5. Okay, whereas A can play against C on day 1, he can play against C on day 4. Also, he can play against C on day 5. Okay, whereas talking about match between A and D, we know that A is playing against D on day 2. Take care. Talking about his game with E, so E can play against E. A can play against E only on day 1. Why can he play against E only on day 1? Because if you see on day 5 they are playing 2 different games. Okay, day 4 E has played. Okay, day 4 E has played. Day 3 A and E cannot play together. Day 2 A has played. That means on day 1 the only possibility is that A is playing with E. If A is playing with E, C is playing with F. Okay, A is playing with E, C is playing with F. So day 1 is complete for us. Okay. Now coming to again to the remaining matches of A has to play with whom? A has to play with C and A has to play with B. Can we do something about it? Let's see. Okay, we cannot uniquely determine as of now when he will be playing with B and when will he be playing with okay, if you see that when is A playing with B? A cannot play with B on day 1. A cannot play with B on day 2. A can play with B on day 3. That is a possibility, and still 5 is also a possibility. Okay, so let's move ahead from it. Okay, let's move ahead from it. Okay. Okay. Acha, let's come to C. Let's come to the matches C is playing. So C has played against F. Okay. C has played against D. C is left to play with A. C is left to play with B. C is left to play with E. Okay. So these are the 3 matches for which for C that are remaining. So talking about C playing with B, it is not possible on day 2. C playing with B is not possible on day 2. C playing with B is not possible on day 3. C playing with B is possible only on day 4. C playing with B is only possible on day 4 because day 5 also C and B are going to play differently. Okay, so day 4 also we have the information about which team is B playing against. Okay, once that is done, we definitely know that F is playing against A on day 4. F is playing against A on day 4. Okay. Now again, C is left with what? C is left to play with. Still he has played with F, D, and B he has played with. C is still left to play with A. Okay, C is left to play with A, and he cannot play A on day 2 because A is playing a different. So A and C will be playing together on day 5. Okay, and that means E will be playing against F on day 5. Okay, so this is also done. Now we are left with only 1 day, and what we definitely know is 2 days we are left with. Okay, and A still has a game left with B, and that game is only possible now on day. Okay, and in that case, F will be playing against E on day 3, and with that we can say that B will be playing against F and C will be playing against E on day 3. Now with this, a set is complete. D won a match against which of the following players? So between D played day 1 with B and he scored 22 points, whereas B scored 24 points. That means B is the winner. Okay. D played A on day 2 and D scored how many points? 17 points. So he's losing. D played C on day 3. D played C on day 3 and C scored 21 points, whereas D scored 23 points. That means option number C is the correct answer. That is D won the match against C. Now, which of the following players played against each other on day 4? CB. Do we have a CB option? Yes, we have a CB option. Okay, that means that is going to be a correct answer. That is option number A. What is the total number of points scored by both the players in a match that F played on day 3? So F played on day 3 is between F and E. So F scored 21 points and E scored 16 points. So 21 plus 16 is 37. That is option number D will be the right answer. So with this, the set is complete and hope you have understood the set well, guys. Thanks for watching the video.